We don't know how about it. Brought his hand instead.
Very much.
No, I'm not. I can't record now.
The goal.
I just have to go straight.
There it is.
Roller there, Glynn. Roller rushing.
Hello, you're all welcome to the Cold Bunker in Drina for the first instalment of the review and preview of the Senior Hurling and Senior Football Championship. Over the next few weeks, we'll be highlighting each round. And I'm joined by some legendary figures. Michael Kelly, who was a joint manager with Shelmaliers when they won their first Senior Hurling title in 2014. Declan Stamp from Oulart captained Oulart to their third senior title in 1997. We have Robert Lampert, who played in 1983 county final against star-studded Buffers Alley team, and none other than the man himself, Larry O'Gorman. Now, we're just going to go through last weekend's games, lads. Larry, you first. St. Martin's against the Harriers. St. Martin's looked very, very impressive in that game.
Yeah, Ed, I was very impressed with him, to be quite honest. Very disappointed with the Harriers. In my own club, you know, I was sitting beside Robert at the match, and he could see that I was getting very agitated about the whole thing. But Robert was a happier man going out at Belfield that night, because I thought the Martins were superb. You know, even the subs that come on, you know, Philip Dempsey was outstanding. Joe O'Connor, centre back, give a display from the best centre back display I've seen in a long time in terms of giving a ball into Rory and into the forwards. They were all round. I just thought the Martins were keen and really up for the fight. And they just, to be honest, it was a stroll in the park for them, to be quite honest. And even when Jack got sent off, there was still no bite in us. There was no fight, no bite. I was very disappointed. And I know themselves after they were disappointed. They had a meeting the following morning about the whole situation. But look, it's early in the year. You know, we normally come good as the year goes on. And to be quite honest, I see Martins were 5-4 or 5-2 before that match last week. But after the game, they were odds-on favourite to win it. And I'd have to say, you know, it's going to take a good team to beat them, even though it's still early in the championship. But I'd fancy them to, if they continue the performance that they've been doing in the first round right through the rest of the year, it's going to be hard to beat them.
Yeah, I think, Robert, you know, we must remember this. Five Harriers were without the two-star players, you know, Lee Chin and Richie Lawler, and it probably doesn't reflect the gap between the two teams, but one must admit that the Martins seem way ahead of everyone else. As regards panel, you know, any sub they brought on didn't weaken them whatsoever.
Absolutely, yeah. I suppose that's one of the pleasing things about it, to have a good panel now, which we probably struggled other years to have. They brought on Ben Stafford, Dottie, Josh, Murton, man. Can't think of his name.
Alex Lafferty.
Alex Lafferty.
Yeah, he looked very good.
I'd like to see more of him now. He looked hard, about 6'4". Came out to the first ball, the only ball that went into him, just caught it, turned his man, put it over the bar. Now, as Larry said, when John was sent off, we didn't weaken. Just seemed to get stronger. And Dahi came on at half back, played as Dahi plays, driving down the field. Rory had a great game. Had Joe Barrett, I think, was very good.
Yeah, I was very impressed with him now.
Joe went in full back to mark. He was man marking, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But then Philly went wing back, which I didn't think Philly would play well at wing back. But he's played there now in the league final, and that's against the Harriers, and God, he looked the part.
Yeah.
Driving down the field, out of the air, delivering good ball, got a score. Because there's a better one in the county.
He's a very
but
good.
it's, as Larry says, it's only early yet.
Yeah.
And nice to see him going like that, to have good panel, and what's more, I think we have a good backroom team.
Yeah.
So look, please God, future's good. So.
But Ed, Ed, you were saying about Lee Chin and Richie, they're a massive loss to us, you know, in any game that we go to play. But for some reason, some of the young lads out there last weekend for us didn't really show up. And that's not a good sign. You know, we played Gorey last year in the championship. We got beaten at the tail end of it, and Lee had got sent off in that game. But I thought that day some of the lads pulled up their sleeves and knuckled into us. But I know we happened to lose the game. So to be quite honest, if the Martins lost Rory and Jack, you know, coming out to get the Harriers full strength team, you know, there'd be a bit of a struggle there for them as well. So Lee is definitely a massive loss to us, and Richie, and we've young Darby Purcell, who's back in the fray now again. So, you know. Yeah,
let's not forget, you know, last year there was only 2 points between the two teams in what was an outstanding game. And, you know, Chin and Rory really shot the lights out that day, you know.
When are they back, Larry?
It's early in the year.
Well, Lee is back this weekend. Richie will be back in maybe for the third round of the championship. And Darby Purcell is back there. We played well tonight, actually, with under 21s or under 20s again, the Martins. The first half I saw now, I'm very impressed with him. So it'll take a couple of games for him to come back. But we need them all. I tell you, I've looked at our minor team this year as well. We're struggling at minor. We haven't got too many lads coming through to our senior panel. Robert talked about the Martins panel. They have a massive panel. I actually looked at both dugouts when the game was going on. We only had 7 or 8 lads talked out in our dugout, where the Martins had about 14 in their dugout. You know, that's a good sign for them, but it wasn't a good sign for us. I know we were down 2 or 3. And I know some lads were risking playing some of the junior A team, which we lost 2 or 3 that day as well because of injuries on the day as well. So,
But it looked impressive. They looked impressive last year. I seen them playing last year. You'd have to say the Harriers were coming. Like I would have been tipping them to get to a semi-final or quarter-final this year.
we will improve. There's no question about it. We'll improve as the year go on. And we say it's a pity that we had to meet the Martins in the first round, because if we'd have got the smaller teams, maybe, I know it means smaller teams, but
Good start.
to get a good start, it might give us momentum. So it was the best kick in arse we actually got.
Yeah.
For some of the lads that would have thought they were high and mighty, go out and we just go out and hurl. They got a lesson in hurling, and they'll have to go back and look at themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, have I got the fight in me? Are we prepared to put our shoulder to the wheel going forward? You can say yes, but you have to prove it. We have a chance next Saturday again, Oulart. And if that'll put us in a position to see where we stand and what fight to have in them. Because lads would know I'm a winner and I'm a fighter when it goes to games like that. And I hate chuckers and I hate lads pulling out. I hate lads not going to the ball. To me, that's not good enough. I just want to see fighters in lads. And if we get our team, which we did on some performances last year, we showed a bit of courage and a bit of fighting spirit. So hopefully that will come back to us. If not, we could have a tough year ahead of us. But I believe with Lee and Richie and Eblas when they come back, I think they'll be.
So they're getting up to age now. You'd want to be doing something the next year or two.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, Declan, you are now living in the St. Martin's catchment area. I was just saying off air, you weren't the biggest fan of St. Martin's in '94. I remember you playing full back. But do you see any similarities between the real good Oulart team and this Martin's team?
The Martins team, they have great discipline, and I see just looking at them in the field that they're eager and they're after learning. Probably they learned from getting bit by Gorey and Ferns, and that is boosting them on. So I think going forward, they are a team to beat in the 25 championship, because they have, as Larry says, they have a great panel. And the experience there with the O'Connors and the Cods and Dahi there is a go-to man. People say that you wouldn't miss him, but he's a heart. He put his head in where some lads won't put the hurling, and that's what you need. As Tom Levy used to say, hurling is a simple game. It's the 4 inches between your ears.
And we'll move on now to Michael. You were at the Shells Rapparees match. I watched it on Clover myself, and the Shells looked better than the Rapparees. Nearly got caught near the end. They were 8 points up and only won by 1.
They were flying it in the second half, and it just sort of goes to sleep for that 5 minutes on and off, and the same thing what they done last weekend. They were flying it. They looked a better team by a mile, but they went sort of fell asleep on the job. And should have had another 4 or 5 goals. Just simple passes across, didn't pass the ball across, give the ball just with 2-on-1 and give the ball across, and the ball had been in the net, and it didn't give it. And we left the Raps in the game, and the Raps grew with a bit of confidence, then got a few scores, got back into the game. Next minute got a goal near the end. You know yourself how it happens. A couple of minutes left, you're 4 points up, all of a sudden then you're only a point up. Now you're under pressure. In fairness to Keane Dial stood up to take that last free again to win. It was a good free to take. Now, in fairness, he done a good job on it. He wasn't taking the frees because Ross Bamble had went off just before that. So, in fairness, it was a good free to take. And
I think his younger brother was brought on as well.
Yeah, he was brought on as well.
The two of them are very good prospects.
So there was a good few lads missing from last year, see, and so I suppose there's an age now that they're coming to the end of it. That team that won in 2014, Lama going, so Brian Owen there, Owen Dial, Kieran Chappensey, and then Arnie Murphy is probably back this week, and Oni Noel will be back, and young Robbie Delaney will probably be back in the fray. But sure, are they much better than what you had on? That's the question, But if you got bet last weekend, and you have to be so far ahead, 8 points at one stage ahead, be a heavy blow, it'd be hard to get going this year. With going against Glynn this week, Glynn again, Oulart should have probably Oulart should have won it, and then all of a sudden it was turning. So they'll be going into on a bit of a high this weekend, Glynn will. So it'll be turned from one to the other. So the same thing is like what you're saying, plenty of talent, but it's getting it right and get them to go. Like what Larry said, get them to go to the 4 and go at it full strength, not going back from it, go in at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah, they will.
spoke about Larry. We spoke about Lee Chin a few moments ago. You know, I think Kevin Foley is a massive player for the Rapparees. You know, he scored 1-1 and almost single-handedly dragged the Rapparees back into the game. You know, players like Foley and Chin, they're very hard to, very hard to replace if they're missing. You know, and I
Yeah.
think that was another example of it.
Yeah.
Whereas the Martins have the extra players.
But
coming in.
Simon Donoghue, likes of Conor Hearn now, in fairness, stood up there.
Yeah.
They were more, they held the ship together. A little bit of experience there in County Hurling.
The
Do
old-
make a difference, like.
The
They'll
Oulart.
howl it, in fairness. Simon held it well there on the backs, controlled it. And sure, Conor scored, I think it was 6 from play. So he did, so,
Yeah.
you know, 5 or 6 from play, like,
Yeah.
shooting is on form, like.
But Ed was talking about Kevin Foley for the Rapparees, same as Lee Chin for the Harriers. You know, when you have them in your team,
Oh, yeah.
you feel more confident going out onto the field, and the young lads around them would feel the very, very same.
Oh, yeah.
But in terms of the Martins and maybe Gorey, they probably have a wider spread of players that you're dependent on more. You know, Martins could pop up anywhere. They could get scores from anywhere. Rory was the key man last weekend in terms of leading the scoreboard or whatever. But they had other lads around the field as well, working their socks off. Yeah, they played very, very well. We rely on Lee the way Rapparees will rely on Kevin Foley, and maybe Gorey were relying on Conor Mack there for a number of years. Then they got 2 or 3 young Doyle, and these lads came into the Gorey setup and they added more scoring power. But so we have Josh Shield and a few other lads around. We have to do the same.
You're not going to get them lads performing every day, Larry. Either. You need lads around them that's going to perform when them lads have a day off.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just move on to Ferns and Gorey. You know, I was at this match and Ferns looked like they were coming, but every time Gorey came with a goal, you know, they have a serious goal threat. They scored 3 goals at the right time. And, you know, Conor Mack was man-marked by Niall Murphy, who had a fabulous game. Conor Mack scored a very important goal. And, you know, Gorey were missing 6 or 7, but they still looked very, very, you know, there was no passengers on the team.
Yeah, well, Gorey been like that for the last 3 or 4 years as well. You know, they're coming nicely. They've been building nicely. They've been very strong since they won the county final. They're very confident going out. The only issue they have with Gorey is if they come up against a better team that's on the day, the likes of the Martins, or even Ferns a couple of years ago, now we're very close to beating them as well. So, you know, Gorey are getting stronger, but I still think the Martins are the strongest there at the moment. Gorey are a little step below them, but they have the numbers coming through.
Yeah.
Barntown have loads of numbers coming through. I think they have 221 teams this year, or 120 teams. Barntown have. But they don't have the same capacity of number of high quality players coming through. They have the 5 or 6 lads that are there for the last number. John Lacey and these lads, they've been carrying the flag for the last number of years. But they need someone else on the outside to come in on the wings or wherever you want to call it from. To be adding a bit more to it.
Yeah, but Gorey, in fairness to Gorey, you know, they're a big, strong team. If they get their act together, they can turn around. It's like what Ed said. There's a few lads missing there. And sure, Ferns as well. Ferns won after winning a couple of underage there, coming up along, and they're coming through as well. Did they hit a blip in the system? Like, what should they have bet? You were at the match.
Yeah, no. Each time they came back, Gorey got a goal. You know, so Paul Morris went off injured. He'd be a huge loss to Ferns. You know, speaking with your St. Martin's hat on, you know, Gorey and the Martins have had a huge rivalry in the last 6 or 7 years.
We struggled against Gorey, and we do.
Yeah.
We struggled against them all the time. And yes, we should have beaten them, but Gorey are the team. But look, it's only early yet. Anyone, the Ans are always there as well. Hard to beat. Barntown seem to be coming good. Ferns are another lovely hurling team. Ferns always good hurlers. So there's lots of teams out there. But we are on the range is doing reasonably well as well, Larry.
So it's adding numbers in.
Adding numbers in, and that's what we need.
Yeah, so I was
good panel, good backroom team, and things seem to be going well at the moment. But they can turn around awful quick.
Very quick. Yeah.
We've seen before.
Yeah, then
being red hot favours now is not
good.
Not good.
And at this time of the year, it's ideal to be in that position. But as the year goes on, as a lad told me the other night, Larry, it's only September when the championship is going to kick in.
Yeah,
you know, when the knockouts.
No point being
kind of a
good
race
now.
to the bottom, Larry. You can't lose now.
Yeah, I know. That's another.
Lose all your games, you're still in the championship.
Yeah, that's another.
Never a good idea to lose all your games, though, because you know.
Still an option. You can still lose.
I don't believe any team that loses all its games is going to win the championship myself now.
Yeah, well, they don't deserve it. Clabon won 2 last year,
Yeah.
and they got
Really,
relegated.
yes.
Rapparees won none, did they?
Yeah,
Did
that's
they beat
right.
Oulart, maybe, was it?
Yeah.
Clabon went down.
I should have got one well this weekend.
And you know something, it's after creeping into the players.
Yeah.
The players know that.
Yeah.
After the match, I was talking to a few lads, and they said, sure, who cares? Championships
Absolutely.
haven't really started yet.
It's gone like soccer. Game
And then
every
on
week.
Saturday we had in your club, Michael, in Hollymount, a lovely stand there, by the way. Compliments to you. Oylegate versus St. Anne's. St. Anne's pulled away near the end, but you know, Seamus Casey was keeping Oylegate in the game as well. But the Annes are definitely contenders from what I could see. Would you see them as contenders?
Yeah, I'd say the Ans are hard. They're contenders nearly every year. It's a pity that they know that I had to finish it off one of these years because they certainly have a few good hurlers coming through there. Every year they've added a couple of young lads on every year. Very disappointed. I'd be very disappointed with Oylegate, like considering where I know a few of them on playing the weekend. On
Damien Reck, Sean Rowley, yeah.
Yeah, but still, like if you were looking at going through if you had to look at their program, you'd say, just they won't be bet, like, do you know what I mean? What they have on county teams now, you said they're not going to be bet, but still there wasn't an element of juice, and Dan's dogged it out, and you know, it was close enough game up to the second half, and then they just took away from them, like. But Oylegate wasn't scoring. There was only 3 scored from.
Yeah, Seamus Casey scored 9 points,
Yeah,
and
9 points, and then there was only 11 points.
Hodgthorne and Feaker Hurling
Yeah.
got a point each, you know. They didn't spread the load really.
No,
you know.
that's poor scoring, like in any manner or shape. So it is. And in fairness,
25 years ago, Declan, you'd have memories of the Anns. Remember, they came from nowhere and won the
They did.
senior title.
In 97. But
Oh, in
there's one thing-
2000.
2000, won the double that year.
Yes, right. But the ends are not an easy thing to beat because they'll grind you down.
Yeah.
The backs, like you won't be getting free ball. They'll be behind you, in front of you. Like Oylegate has plenty of scoring power in the forwards. Like, but there's one thing about ends. They're a footballing club, but they have plenty of ability in hurling.
I think they've more hurlers than they ever had now. You
Yeah.
know that two Doyles, Kieran Doyle and Paddy Doyle. Like Kieran Doyle's first year adult, he was outstanding last Saturday. You know, he's
Yeah.
definitely a prospect for Wexford.
2 candies,
Oh,
Yeah.
Kyle Kennedy was very good, and
goalkeeper.
Andrew in the goal was
Yeah.
very good, and Kevin Breen in the full back line was exceptional. He went up and scored a point.
Yeah.
Did Colin get wing back? Carwick?
No, he actually didn't start last Saturday.
He's always a hard man to get around.
So then I think the closest match of the weekend was Oulart and Glynn. Larry, you were at that. You know, Oulart 9 points up at half time, and Glynn never said die, came back and won.
Yeah, it was a tough enough out game with Oulart. And Billy Dunn, of course, Billy gave a great display himself or whatever. But I just thought in the first half, Barntown looked a bit rusty. They didn't look to be at the races at all. I know they were playing against a Gale Force win or whatever, but Oulart seemed to have their eye in, very sharp, very quick, and good movement and all up front. But when the second half came in and we had the Gale Force win, and Mark Fanning used his brain to get that ball down to the far end of the field, and you know, put all the pressure on Oulart, and Oulart started panicking a bit then, and a couple of scores went against Oulart, you know, and they were starting to panic a bit more. They were pulling back. There was
The 9 points up at one stage, right?
at half time, they were 9 points up.
9 points up. It was a big lead to get cut.
And it was a big Gale Force win, but I must say that Barntown really got going, you know, they showed some great stick work, got some lovely scores or whatever. And as Declan said, it happened before when the pressure comes on, when the game goes close and you're coming to the tail end of the game and you're 5-6 points up, and then you're only 2 or 3 points up, the pressure comes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And that's where they got caught. Darragh Carley got 2 or 3 lovely scores there at the end of it as well. So
Liam Coney as well scored 1
Yeah.
point.
yeah.
I think the big difference in hurling when we were all playing is, you know, if you were 8 points up before, you were out the gap, but teams are coming back. Like Glynn Barntown in 2 relegation finals came back from 10 points down to win both of them.
Yeah, that's right.
And
yeah.
last Saturday they came from 9 points.
When they hit the ball into the square,
That's
before
it.
that they were hitting around
Yeah.
that back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Lacey.
Put John Lacey will go and hit
Yeah.
the
You
ball.
go direct
John
hurling,
Lacey,
so that's
yeah.
why there's all these fancy hurling,
Yeah.
and there's the goalposts haven't changed yet.
No.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Going
you
to point.
hate to be hurling corner forward because with no ball going into you, because that's what him into you.
Yeah. And that's the biggest problem. You have lads midfield, half back line are shooting. If they're going over, it's great.
Yeah.
It's no problem. But when you have a corner forward, if a good corner forward sitting in there, young Castle the last day with us, I think he only hit 2 or 3 balls in the second half.
Yeah.
But a good corner forward. I just found a good. He's nippy, he's fast,
Yeah.
and he's tricky. I'd be trying to get every ball into him. I try to drag everyone else away, try to get the ball into him. Young Clancy, Colin Clancy, he's the very same. He's sharp, he's crisp. We got no ball into him.
No, I don't see it.
The man stopped the ball going into him.
Yeah.
But we didn't use our intelligence. We were hitting the ball 20 yards instead of hitting 100 yards.
Easy pass around the halfback.
It's the easiest thing in the world. You hear you hit the ball, I hit the
Roam
ball.
out there.
Yeah.
Fairness, in the other match, Simon Roche scored 6 points. Like, in fairness, he
Yeah.
probably wanted to.
Yeah, he was very good.
Like, it's a fair score now, to be
Like
fair.
Keane O'Connor's a young chap there and he scored 1-1. Like,
That's right, yeah.
it's
That's
probably
Alan O'Connor's young lad, is it?
probably first year in senior.
Oulart, they're not too bad, you know. It'll probably take a while for teams to settle down or whatever for the next round, maybe the third round. Then the management will all know who to play, where to play,
Yeah.
who to bring in, not to bring in, because some lads are shifted from junior A up to senior or intermediate to senior.
Yeah.
When someone gets a settled panel after the third, maybe the fourth round, that's when
They know your
that's when you know when the hard work starts or whatever in the whole lot. But
Yeah, even though John Lacey, you know, he really dragged Glynn over the line. I thought the 2 Coonies and
yeah, they're very good.
Mark Fanning was
Oh,
exceptional.
very good.
The 2 Coonies are grandsons of
Carney
the
there.
legendary Hopper
Yeah, that's
McGrath.
right.
So, you know, you can't beat the bit of breeding, Larry.
Yeah, can't beat it, right?
A Harriers man again.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yeah, and then the last match was Rathnure against Ballymore. And Rathnure had a great year last year. They won the Leinster Intermediate Championship, and they really pushed Crossabeg Ballymore into the swords. You know, Jack Redmond, Rory Higgins. You know, I think Declan Root is doing a very good job here with a very young Rathnure team.
Absolutely, he done a marvelous job last year with him. I must say, and going all the way to, was it the semi-final? Was it?
Yeah.
All Ireland.
Ireland semi-final.
Yeah.
He done a
Yeah,
fantastic
very
job.
unlucky.
You know, Rathnure have been missed out of Wexford hurling for the last number of years. You know, same with Puffers Alley.
You
know,
know,
and-
championship match for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and Oulart, which is unusual because you have no one from Rathnure, no one from Oulart, and no one from Puffers Alley on the county team at all, which is, they were the main feeding,
Absolutely.
where they were feeding all top hurlers
Yeah.
into the county team at the moment, at the time.
Yeah.
And that's where Wexford were, I think, were more successful or whatever. Now Rathnure have bounced back. Skippy's doing a marvellous job with them. They won't be too far from it either. You know, they'll get better as the year go on as well. I know they came out of intermediate last year. People said intermediate's not great in Wexford. Rathnure not too
So
bad,
they
as
have
you
to
said.
go win it.
They still had to go and win it, exactly. And then as it went into the Leinster Club Championship, but they were excellent. They had a great year, so
Very
they'd be very
unlucky.
confident coming in
Very
this year.
unlucky. They had a man sent
Very
off
unlucky,
earlier
yeah.
in that game, didn't they?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, two players sent
2
off.
players.
So just for something a bit different, we're going to pick the player of the week now from last weekend's round 1. And you know, we had the discussion before we went on air, and the players that impressed us was Philip Dempsey from St. Martin's, Joe O'Connor from St. Martin's, Conor Hearn Shells, Niall Murphy Ferns, Kyle Kendi and Kieran Doyle from the Anns, Simon Roach Oulart, Liam Cooney from Glenbarntown, and Jack Redmond from Rathnure. So we'll just have a little discussion on who we're going to give it to. So, Larry, you were...
Well, I was very impressed with Philip Dempsey, to be honest. I have been for the last number of years. I think he's involved with the Wexford footballers
Yeah.
at the moment.
Yeah.
I think that guy is good enough to be brought into the Wexford senior hurling panel. He's strong, he's physical, he plays with his head up all the time. He's very intelligent, and if you want to get a bit of a dogfight out of someone, you get out of him. He's up for the fight. It doesn't matter who
That's right, yeah.
goes on him. He's up for the battle. He don't worry about anyone else. He said, "I look after this man." And last Saturday, I thought he had an outstanding game for St. Martin's.
Who's your pick then, Robert?
Well, I'd say Larry is right for once. But,
That
sure,
because of the Martins man now.
as we said, Philly and Hugh Barrett is not in there. Joe is not in there, but he could have been in there as easy as anybody else. But sure, Philly is doing what he's asked to do, and he's doing it well. He came out wing back, which we all said
Yeah,
Philly's going to be lost out there, but he's standing up and playing the game. A halfback should play, Larry.
Absolutely,
delivering good balls, got to score, and nominating the man he's on.
yeah,
Controlling
absolutely.
that area, and that's what you want to see. Many halfback.
Well, Declan.
Well, I will agree with Larry, but I still also Simon Roach, he scored 6 points. last week there against Glenbarndown. He's a young hurler. He's doing his stuff. But I have to say, I'd agree with the lads at Philly MC because his heart in his head and his go to every ball, and he's a kind of the ticking clock with the Martins team at the moment.
Now's your chance to be controversial, Michael.
Well, sure.
Philip Dempsey is obviously
Football
going to win
going here, the
it.
boys. Well, I'd have to get throw in somewhere. But in fairness, any of the boys that you mentioned there are after hurling well. To be fair, you had Simon Rhodes scored 6 from play. Conor Hearn scored 5 or 6 from play.
Jack Redmond scored 7 from play.
7 from play, like for Rathnure. I know they're up against different opposition, and so maybe. Sure, the Harriers wasn't much good last weekend. That's why maybe he hurt so well.
I know that was Larry told me I get a free dinner after this. That's why I mentioned him.
I checked that one out.
But I'd say off hurling as it goes, looking at it on Tubber, I'd say he probably was the hurler of the week this week overall. Like, you know, to be fair to him. So
that's it. Well done to Philip Dempsey. Definitely a fine performance against the Harriers, and well done to everyone else that's mentioned as well. You know, they contributed greatly to round 1. Now we're just going to move on to round 2, and we're just going to preview the games. You know, we have Ferns against the Ans Friday night. So what way do you see that one going?
Yeah, that'll be a good test for both teams, to be quite honest. Because St. Anne's, we spoke about them. They're tough. They're dogged. They have that never say die attitude. Ferns almost, Ferns nearly always being a type of game when they're playing a big physical game. They're inclined to get stuck into teams as well. So it'll be close enough. Ferns, I tell you, the last number of years I thought their sell-by days gone by. I just thought they were losing their mojo in terms, but they seem to be coming back a little bit more now. You know, they're
Brian, a few young lads there, and I'd say they were disappointed last weekend with the hurl. Again, Gorey, I'd say they might have a bit.
There will. There'll certainly be a bite between their teeth, you know. But St. Anne's or St. Anne's, it doesn't matter if it's the first round or the last round. They'll always go and give 100%, and that's the way they play. They play off the cuff, and they play with we're winning today, and we're going to stay at it, and we're going to win it all the way through. If possible.
Be back next weekend.
No, I think he's a hamstring injury. I'm just looking at Larry O's wristband. I can't but help tell the story about the watches, the Sunday game, man of the match watch. I think it's a great story. I think between 92 and 93, Larry won 5 man of the match awards for Wexford. And that time when you won man of the match, you got a watch. Yeah. And remember Sir Farrell said, you know, he should open a jewellery shop, but didn't Tom Dempsey get man of the match against Laois in 1993, you see? And obviously Tom got a watch. So Tom went into training and he said to one of the players, he said, ask me what time it is, he says. And I said, what time is it, Tom? And Tom went, well, by my man of the match watch, it's 7:15. And Larry O, like a shot, just pulls up. He says, well, by my 5 man of the match awards, he said, it's 7:14. So he's a good reader of the game. Is that true, Larry?
That's true, 100%.
Yeah, so... You know, what way would you see Ferns and the Ans going then, Robert?
As I said earlier, it's hard to bet against the Ans. Ferns, a good hurling team, always were a lovely hurling team. If they open it up, I suppose, against the Ans, but I know the Ans have a lot of younger players now, plenty of speed probably around the field. But they're always good in the air, good on the ground, and if it gets around the front of the goal, they're missing Franny Simpson at the moment, but he might be back. But Franny was always good to kick it in or get it in somewhere, but they have hurlers now as well. You said the Doyles and all those. Yeah. They're all good chaps. Kennedy's a good Kennedy chap in goal. He was sub this year on the county team. Didn't get a run, I believe, but and brother his centre forward, isn't it?
Yeah, Kyle Kennedy.
Yeah, they're Julian's lads, I think. So
hopefully someone will see him this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Who are you going for, Declan?
Looking at it, I would have to go for St. Anne's because I think that they'll drag Ferns. I know Ferns likes to hurl, where the Anns won't give him a chance to do that. And I'd say the Anns, to be honest, I'd say will be too strong for Ferns.
Well, with Paul Morris missing, it'd be a loss now. For Ferns to kick him back around. But in saying that, I still say Ferns could give a bit of a kick back after last weekend. Now they were playing You only have to mention they were playing Gorey last weekend and they were playing a good, strong team. Not saying the Dans are not strong now or anything, but you were basically saying that Gorey were contenders for a senior title and they're thereabouts. So, and Gorey's a big, strong team too, very big physical team. So,
No, any team that lost last weekend, Michael, they will be having a go at this
they will,
weekend.
yeah. They will.
there's-
Championship,
it's-
I know you
it's-
said you're out of championship, but
yeah.
no one likes getting back.
No.
And I'd say if Ferns give a kick, they always had to give a good display of hurling at some stage.
Yeah.
And they will give a good display of hurling. And I wouldn't write him off now. I wouldn't write him off yet. So, but then D. O'Keefe and all them, they're on county teams, more matches they get in championship now, they'll come better as well. So they will, you know.
Declan, you played in 1996 in the league quarter and semi-final. Would you remember the full back line that day in the quarter final?
For Oulart.
For Wexford against Offaly.
Geez, you have to put them on the spot now. Right?
96.
You surely know one of them, man. You were one of them yourself, like.
That's one, yeah.
I wonder myself.
He was
You
playing
played the first round.
playing the three players position.
Yes. Haven't an earthly clue.
John O'Connor and Shane Carley. And there was Liam Dunn, Ger Cush,
And Damien Fitzhenry.
Damien Fitzhenry, yeah. It's
Very
unbelievable.
Cush was centre back.
Yeah, Damien Fitzhenry was wing
Wing
back.
back.
Yeah,
Seamus Cavanagh was in goal.
that's
Yeah.
right.
I was dropped.
Yeah, but you were on in the
Devastated.
semi-final.
I walked home from Thurles that day.
Did I?
I did. Sick as a parrot.
Lakers got sense.
They did.
I
The
honestly-
crowd got onto him, didn't it? The crowd were roaring.
Someone picked you up, Larry.
I honestly believe that was an important match for Wexford. I think Wexford, just couldn't get over the line against Offaly, and I think after that match they definitely had confidence.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll move on to the
Good job by Ken back, wasn't it?
Very lucky, Larry. Very lucky.
I never won a honey for you, lad.
He was on his way to Kerry. He was
Went on to
walking
play
the wrong
football.
way.
Migo was calling me. Come on out here and play football.
So now the next match is St. Martin's against the Rapparees. What way do you see this going, Larry?
Yeah, well, I think the Martins are going to be way too strong. Rapparees are not too bad. There's a bit of a fight, bit of kick in them, but I think Martins will see this one out fairly handy. I believe. I don't know. Jack O'Connor back, is he?
No, I think
That
he's
can't be suspended.
No.
I'm not sure. I don't know if it was
Red
overturned or not.
card.
Whatever. Huh?
Red card, you can't
Okay.
put on that.
I don't know. I don't know if he appealed it or not. But anyway, I think the Martins are going to be too strong for him. It'll be a good game because Rapparees love to hurl as well, as same as the Martin. 90% of the Martins lads are well able to hurl as well.
Liam right back for that, is he?
Liam Ryan.
no.
I know he's not back
I don't
either.
think
So no. So he's a massive loss to him. So I think the Rapparees will be under pressure now, and I can see Martins winning this by 10 points or more.
Robert, I was doing a bit of research before I came down, and I was studying your career. You played with
Took a long
Wexford.
time.
Yeah. You played with Wexford in 1973 and then didn't play again till 1983.
Yeah, well, I took a
What
break.
sort of an injury had you?
I took a career break.
Took a sabbatical.
I was very busy working in Johnstown. so
Yes, he got
I-
plenty of.
yeah.
He was working overtime for that 10 year. That's how he became a millionaire.
Yeah, no, but all joking aside, I remember you so well playing with Wexford against Kilkenny in Wexford Park one day. And, I suppose it was on the back of you playing well with the Martins throughout the 1983 championship. Them days appear to be gone, that you can play well with your club on a Sunday and you're in the county panel of a Tuesday. It's a pity really, but strength and conditioning has gone so strong and fitness and all.
We had a lot of strength and condition, pulling beat and
Yeah.
pitching beers and things, and that was good for that. But anyway, about 83, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, we played it was a league in Wexford Park.
Yeah, I remember it
I
well,
was
yeah.
playing on Harry Rain. Yeah.
Scalded him.
Well, probably. But his hand up anyway, and he didn't.
He found it
He
on the
didn't,
altar in Clonard Church.
He didn't carry on that. he didn't carry on that game either. Anyway, but Wexford won that day. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it. I think Tom Harrington.
It's a great feeling, Robert. It's kind of getting a chance to wear that county jersey.
Brilliant.
Nearly, not say the first time, but
Yeah.
you played underage a bit when it was under 21, was it?
Yeah, we played that for 3 years.
To get your first outing on the
We got
county
to
team.
All Ireland that Larry down in Carrigan-Shore against Cork, and Jimmy Barry Murphy was a sub.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was our claim. And Brian Murphy was in the backs. They had 2 or 3 that went on and played for Ferns. And the beat us by
Mick Malone was another one.
the beat us by a point.
He has 4 under 21
Sure.
All-Irelands.
I tell you who was playing wing back for Wexford that day was 1 week. He was from Adamstown. But anyway,
Oh, Jay Maloney.
Jay Maloney, and during the game, this fella ran on behind him. And the ball broke to him, got the ball, ran through and stuck in the net. And the Cork selectors gave the referee a slip. Goal was awarded, and we got a goal then later on, it was disallowed. Nicky Welsh got a goal. Nicky the Harriers man scored a goal, disallowed, and we lost by a point. Head down Carrigan Shore on the 11th of November 1973.
You took that defeat bad because you weren't seen in Wexford.
No,
1983.
I was sub.
know.
I was a sub that day.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, I was.
I
He told me hamstring. Wouldn't blame me.
Now I don't take it back.
No.
I was only
Take it
6.
back.
Right lad to roll up and down.
Ready to go.
You should have come out with that extra card for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, just another interesting statistic, the difference in hurling now, you know, the under 21 All-Ireland you played in against Galway in 1986.
86.
The centre back for Wexford that day was Tom Dempsey, who by that time had played in 6 county senior hurling finals with Buffers Alley. The current Wexford centre back on the under 20 team, I know it's a year younger, played his first game last Saturday. That's something different.
I think you're wrong there, Ed.
I know, I'm
Did you
not
say
wrong.
76?
No.
No,
I said
86.
86.
Oh, sorry, you could be right then.
Yeah.
Because he played
There's a
his
10-year gap again.
He played his first one in 73. He came on against us.
Yeah, that was 83.
Or sorry,
Yeah,
another 10 years.
Another 10-year, yeah.
83. Well then, how could he play
82.
85 county finals by
82 against Oulart. 83 against the Martins.
No, against the Martins he came on, he was only 70.
82 against Oulart, Robert. Check this up. 82 against
You can check
Oulart.
it up.
83
You're wrong.
against...
Yeah.
I'm not wrong.
It's very hard to go by
84 draw and replay against the Harriers. 85 against the Harriers. And 86 against Rathnure. That's 6.
Well, yeah, he came on in 73 against us, his first senior game.
Still playing.
Tom Dempsey
I know he did
played in the 82 county final, and that's fact, as a 17-year-old. He won a junior and a senior the same year, sorry. He did, yeah.
16-year-old.
17,
That's
17,
16.
17.
16. So 21 there, count.
16.
There's a draw and a replay in 84,
draw and
Mike.
replay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, he played in 6.
And then my men were hurling.
Yeah. And it didn't spoil his career, did it?
God, it didn't.
Anyway, lads, forget about Tom Dempsey. Let's get on with this.
4 from 22. 4 and 21 anyway, Larry. What's that?
So, Declan, the Martins and the Raps, who are you going for? One word?
I'd have to go for the Americans.
Right.
I think they're showing they won't improve. As Larry says, they're very strong all over the field, and the longer the year goes on, they're going to improve. And I know the Raps are improving under Skip, so but I still see the Martins 6 or 7 points.
And
Hard
Michael?
debate the Martins on that one.
Mm.
Hard debate. Won't even argue about it, I don't think.
No,
Not
And
that,
while
honest.
we're over with you now, we'll go to your own club, Glynn and the Shells. I think this one is going to be close, Michael.
Yeah, that'll be a good, interesting one. With Glynn after coming back, as I said, from last weekend after beating Oulart, overturning them, it'll be an interesting match. As I said to you, it depends on the way the Shells throughout their team, whether they're going to be on a couple of the boys is back or they're going to go with the same team. In saying that, last weekend, Shells should have had 5 goals. Should have had 5. They passed the ball around. So, but still, I'd say the Shells have enough to tip them. Finds it hard again to Glynn too. We've been playing them in underage too.
Yeah.
And it's not simple. If we get ahead of them, we can pay them. But it's going to be a good. It'll be a good challenge now because Glynn and the Shells do have good old battles. So
yeah,
over the years, underage up along, a lot of them been on after hurling one another, and they won't leak one another, as the fella says. So they'll go out hard and yeah, for the win.
So then the big match now the weekend is the Harriers against Oulart. Any sign of a comeback for you, Larry?
Yeah, no choice. Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be doing water boy. That's what I'll be able to do. I wouldn't mind talking out all right, but sure, the head wants to go out, the heart wants to go out there, but the legs won't carry you.
Don't give out about the referee like you did last weekend.
No, he was cat. He was cat.
He was giving out about the referee. In
Was he, Larry?
Yeah, I'll tell you,
Larry.
he gave the Martins everything.
I got,
Unreal.
he was so bad, I got afraid of him.
Yeah, there'll have to be a bit of a kick in us this weekend, Ed. You know, Lee is back. Richie's not back. Darby Purcell will be thereabouts. I don't know whether we're going to play him or not.
Where's Richie gone this year?
He's in America.
Yeah.
Gone over for 6 weeks, yeah. So we're delighted with the split season now because there'll be 2 or 3 weeks there where there'll be no matches on. So I think it's only six weeks over there.
Yeah.
He made his decision to go, and that's it. I don't mind. Let lads do whatever they like because we'll do it anyway, one way or another.
I have to get you to describe that point in '97 against Oulart that sent it to extra time, Larry. in
Yeah.
Belfast.
Never forgot it. And the whole world never forgot about it either.
Yeah. And
It
what
was
was
on CNN News and everything. And it went everywhere. It went all over the world.
well, I have four.
Send a rocket out.
I have photographic evidence that you did score with a broken heart.
Oh, and again, the Gale Force win.
Some young lad,
And I had plaster bars on my right arm.
some,
And I hit a seagull on the way as well.
didn't some young lad
Deflected
broke
over
their
the
heart?
bar.
Some young lad took the hurl.
Yeah.
An hour left.
Took the hurl.
Some hour, young left from
And
hour
I had to pick up the broken hurl.
You know, genuine broken heart, honestly.
And then Gavin Boogie was running down the field. He was walking down the field. He was like that to himself, dusting himself off. Last book of the game said, Gavin, go back. Get out of it. Pat Murphy, Lord Mercy, said, Larry O, take a shot. And Liam Dunn actually said it to Paul Dempsey. He's turning around and says, this hole put it over the bar.
Yeah.
I guarantee he'll put it over the bar. It was way back on the,
language.
it was nearly back in the half back line. Wasn't it?
Yeah, obviously,
That was so
It was-
good.
you obviously don't want to see the video, Larry. It wasn't that far back.
No, it was,
Was it
Probably on the 14.
it was.
Party.
But I went over the bar and I went over the town end of Belfield, didn't it? And it ended up on the top of Vinegar Hill. So it was a fair strike.
Was it as far back as the 96 one? He scored in Club Park.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
we
get him
won't-
further
Yeah.
every day, Larry.
Yeah, that was a draw game, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
A draw, and it went extra time.
Yeah.
And I would
That probably them 2 matches, Larry. That's why we won the county final
No
because
doubt.
they brought you
They
on
were-
so much.
they were tough matches.
Yeah.
There wasn't a stroke of a ball in any of the 2 teams.
That was a great
It
game,
was
very
fun.
enjoyable games.
And it was so, I tell you what made it probably more spectacular was in Belfield and the
The crowd
crowd
was
was
unbelievable.
right and happy. And the place was chock-a-block.
Score for score, either
Score
end.
for
Fellas
score.
hitting one another, bounce off one another, pull on one another, get on with it.
Oh, yeah.
was that,
I'd say
94?
I'd say to be fair now,
94.
you know,
97.
7.
97.
I'd say that the performance of the 2 centre backs that day was outstanding. Liam Dunn was like a wall that day. There was
Yeah.
no ball went by him, and Larry himself was very good.
You
but,
saying I did nothing?
you should no ball went into you, Dick.
Hey,
You're
just on that point, Ed, the next year there was no wall because we bet him in a replay. There was a week in Indonesia, just trying to let you know.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
would have been the best, Larry or Liam? Was Larry or Liam?
Oh, well, sure, you know, what's wrong with the
Liam,
2?
was it?
What's wrong with the 2 of them being good, like, you know?
Oh, well, I agree. I was the
Who was
best.
the best?
Yeah.
And you're modest as well
Yeah.
to go with it.
And I give
Fair
you,
dues to you.
Yeah,
Liam Dunn was top class.
yeah.
Top class. You can't take it away from
No.
a genius with a hurl in his hand.
Moss wasn't too bad there.
Moss was good.
Yeah.
Moss had an engine of a jumbo jet, hadn't he? He'd go all day.
Oh, all day.
Har-
And he could play a lad he could play from behind, Larry.
Yeah,
Not too many can do that, but Tomas could.
great. And Oulart had some wonderful hurlers back in the day when they were winning county finals. Like Oulart, Martins, when they're winning county finals, they have 6 or 7 lads that will get on any team.
But there were a lot of lads in Oulart, Larry, same as the Harriers, only them that they were fabulous hurlers, but they were just unlucky. Like you, Jimmy Pender and Mick J.
Yeah.
All them like.
Yeah.
So who are you going for with the Harriers and Oulart, Robert? You're on the spot.
Asher, hopefully the Harriers. Well, I'd imagine the Harriers. Was,
You wouldn't say that if you were sitting here beside
Yeah,
Stan
but he's
here.
a Martin fan now as well. With Lee Chin back, sure, he was a big loss last Saturday, but I don't think they would have made up the difference.
No, it wouldn't have made a difference.
No.
No, you're dead right, Robert, actually.
Yeah.
Lee would have probably added another 8 or 9 points to it or whatever. it was.
He's not around. He's an American. And I'd go for the Harriers there for that one. Like
You're
Oulart,
on-
not bad either.
Oulart are good.
Yeah,
and
Oulart are
they're
good.
coming good again. They're
They're
coming,
good
they're
again.
bouncing back again.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
And
Just on Farson last week.
Yeah.
Let's see. So
Well,
they were
they
9
did-
points up. You can't forget that either. Like they were sailing, and all of a sudden thing clicked for Barntown to
Yeah.
get in, and sure you'd have to give them with the way. I know it's your club, Larry, but they were sort of they wasn't great now last week.
no.
I know Gina is worth probably 4 or 5 points, but you're You know, you'd have to give Oulart a little bit of a run on it too. Now.
You only want to bring him on now.
Yes, he is.
If Gina's only worth 4 or 5 points, you only bring him on for 5
You're not
minutes.
counting frees now. I'm going to get a free.
Harriers missed a lot of frees.
Gina's worth 10 to 12 points every day.
So you're going to give him player of the week next week then?
Oh, we give it to him now, yeah. Who are you tipping, Michael?
I give Oulart the heads up on it.
And we know who Declan is
Well,
wanting to win, but
The two teams, the Harriers and Oulart, the two needs a win, like. And as
Because-
Larry says, the Harriers need to put up their socks and give a performance. Oulart is probably didn't hurl as bad last week, but they also need a win to get the momentum going. So it's if Oulart hurl and the Harriers come out with the same attitude as they did last week, I'd have to go for Oulart.
then we'll move on to Rathnure and Gorey. You know, Gorey are going to be short 3 or 4. They'll have some of their players back. Rathnure, very impressive in the first match. But who are you tipping, Larry?
Yeah, I'd say about Gorey. You know, we spoke about it through the night. Gorey are strong, physical, fast, good hurling team. They'd be up in the top 2 or 3 every year, and I can't see them dropping below any par. But Rathnure will give them a run for their money. There's no question about it. Rathnure have some lovely, sweet forwards. You know, good goal scorers and point scorers. But I think Gorey will have a little bit too much when it comes to
I'd say,
when it comes to defending at one end and firepower up front. I think Gorey will win this by 6 or 7 points.
Robert?
yeah, sure. It's nice to see Rathnure back. Kelly, the boy from Killan's back. See your brother, yours, mate.
Was.
But nice to see Rathnure back. They're giving a good run for their money.
Well, Rathnure
But-
clocking up big scores
Yeah.
too now. 319
Yeah.
last weekend.
They're back where they should be. But
Yeah.
Gorey is a serious team.
Hope they got back this weekend,
Yeah.
Ed.
Definitely Owen Malloy is back in there.
Is he, yeah?
Yeah.
And Keno Tuma. So, you know,
Yeah.
they'll
Oh,
give
yeah.
a big help.
Yeah.
No, sure. Gorey are a big physical strong team. But Rathnure are coming. They're improving every game. They got to the league final. And the Martins beaten by a few points. But
Well, they went to the All-Ireland semi-final
Yeah.
last year, and the first match in senior hurling, they won, so they're putting no foot wrong so far.
No.
Now.
Well, they're making great strides.
They have a coach as well, another good coach.
Yeah, Neil O'Loughlin,
Neil
very
O'Loughlin
good.
supposed to be very good, yeah.
And Michael O'Leary and Dermot Flynn are selectors. And they'll be dying the wool Rathnure men, you know.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Oh no, they won't be chucking on anything. They'll be giving
certainly
it.
won't.
They'll go hell for leather, and they're
Yeah.
up in the rocks, up on the mountains, and they're thinking that no one else is giving them a chance around the county, and they believe in themselves.
Wexford
Yeah,
needs
they-
like to
We
Rathnure,
don't
Larry.
need- we don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll rattle a few teams going
Yeah.
along. They will,
Yeah.
and they will, because they're a good hurling team.
Oh,
And they wear their heart on their sleeve. You know, when I look at some other teams, and I'm going to mention my own club even, there's sometimes I question some of them where their heart is, you know,
Yeah.
you need
Well,
hard
last
work,
weekend-
hard grafters.
last
Well,
weekend,
Rathnure is always
you-
hard working teams.
You're right what you said. They didn't come out, but
No,
they
they-
have each in playing, so that what do fall apart.
Yeah.
So you can't be relying on one man. He could be gone.
And you don't like saying it because, you know,
No, I
because
know, but you might
last
be-
year they performed quite well on some occasions. And other times they just,
I
They
put
pulled
last
back.
year, looking at my as contender for the senior championship this year. And the way they played last weekend, you wouldn't.
No.
You'd put them into the relegation end of it.
yeah. And I agree with you 100%. You know, disappointed coming out of it. But as I said, most people leaving there last weekend, whether it was the Martins or Harriers people, we were chatting to a couple of lads coming out and they said, "Sure, look, Larry, it's only the first round of the league. I won the league."
Yeah.
I said, "This is the championship. This is only a league, Larry, until the championship starts."
I think Larry has taken this defeat by the Martins very
Yes,
bad.
right.
We'll move on. You know, Declan, are you giving Rathnure a chance against Gorey?
I would now. I give Rathnure. They're coming back where Wexford hurling needs. Wexford hurling. If you take the likes of Rathnure and Buffers Alley, Wexford hurling needs them. And Rathnure is a team that's not going to lay down and take it from Gorey wherever they give. They'll Skippy will have them tuned up. Gorey won't get all the whole way, so I'll go for Rathnure.
Well, the big boys for Gorey will have to stand up this weekend
Yeah.
because Rathnure will give them all they want of it. If Gorey, think of the intermediate team coming up, they'll have it handy this weekend to get it right, I think.
Yeah.
So they'll have to be on all highs to come over Rathnure this weekend, but I'd say tip Gorey to get there, but they'll have to
Have to earn it.
slots full up, so they will.
You know, I remember one Wexford team in the 80s. I think it was 1986, yeah. So there was 4 from Buffers Alley on the Wexford team, 4 from Rathnure, 3 from Duffy Rovers, and 1 from Oulart. That's 12 players. Not one of them clubs have a player on the Wexford team now.
Yeah.
So it's unbelievable, really,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So we need all them clubs back.
Then
We
we
need
didn't
all
win
them
nothing in
clubs.
83 either, though.
86, yeah.
86,
Well, yeah.
83.
I know, but we need all
We
we
need-
need all them clubs back.
Wexford Hurling was at its height in the 70s and early 80s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. We were getting the All Irelands in minor under 21, seniors. We won 3 up minors in the 60s, 63, 66 beaten in 67 and 168. So we're
And who was representing them, Robert, at the time? Who had to
mostly
be?
college players. And a few, Eddie McDonald was on 66. Peter was a sub. Harriers lads. Mario's brother was centre back, Michael Fitzpatrick.
Oh yeah, I know, Mile.
Yeah.
His wife actually tried to teach me in Monaghan.
I think she gave up.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
That was the last
She
time.
resigned. Did she resigned after 6 months?
But in the
Couldn't hack it.
60s, and I don't believe any other family in Ireland that have this record. In every year in the 60s, the Quigleys had 1 representative on every minor team. From 60s to 69, the 5 of them played every year in minor.
Wow.
That's some record for a family, you know. And
Martin probably had 3 years.
he played 67, 8, and 9. Yeah. John was 66, 65. Pat was 64, 63. Dan was 62 and 61. So it's some record.
That was 63 we won the first one, was it?
Yeah, Pat was on that.
Eddie or Vincey Staples.
That's right.
Great hurling.
Vincey had all the medals. Only club senior
And
and
the
club
other,
All-Ireland.
yeah, the other brother, Jim Quigley, played in 67 in the All Ireland against Cork.
Cork team.
So that's some record. We will move on to a local derby now, Oylegate and Ballymore. This is the last match we're going to discuss. So what way do you see this going, Larry?
I'd fancy Oylegate. You know, I'm not too sure about Crossabeg at the moment. According to reports that came in, that Crossabeg were fairly weak. You know, Paddy Foley and Oshie Foley, no problem. They're well able to hurl. But I was talking to Joe Cairns and 1 or 2 other lads, and they said Crossabeg weren't great. I know Oylegate weren't marvellous either. But I think they're better hurlers maybe on
Damien right back
Crossabeg.
this weekend.
Yeah, the word on the street is that Damien Wreck will be back. He'll make a big difference,
Of
Robert.
course he will. Yeah,
Yeah.
good hurler, Damien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it'll be close enough. But I can see Oylegate win it maybe again by 4 or 5 points. It's going to be a neighbourly battle, all right. To be plenty of stones thrown across at one another up there at the moment in the build up to the big game or whatever. So there'll be no one in the local shop talking to one another if you're from one parish or the other
And if
parish.
you're
but-
going off stats, unless Wexford is doing something wrong in the county, picking on county teams, Oylegate should win it. Do you know what I mean? The amount of players that they have on the county teams at the minute versus Crossabeg, Ballymore. Sure, many of the got on county teams there at the minute, Ed. Stats, man.
4, haven't they? Two
4 or 5
rings.
Yeah.
minors. Should have a couple that would have been on it. Michael Kelly and a few of them would have been there right in the panel. So
Yeah.
Oylegate should be winning. That's what I'm saying.
Should be.
Oylegate,
On paper.
you know, on paper,
Yeah.
you'd be putting
So
Oylegate.
that's your prediction, Michael. You're going with Highgate. Declan?
I would go with Oylegate because they're after getting to a county final last year. I think that with Rex back now, they should improve, and I don't think Crossabeg Ballymore will be strong enough for him. But I'd still say that the Oylegate they've a lot more to improve than what they had a bad result there last week, so they need to win as well to boost their confidence going forward for the rest of the championship.
And Robert? 3 out of 4 going for
I agree
Highgate.
with the 3 lads. Oylegate again. It's a local derby, as Larry says. But well, I suppose Crossabeg would have 2 on the senior team. The 2 Foleys were
Yeah, they're fine players.
fine players, yeah. But she'd have to go for Oylegate. They were unlucky a few years ago. Well, they got to a county final a few years ago with Des Maiden over them there. But
Didn't kick off from
lots,
there.
lots of
No.
good hurlers now. The Rex.
Mm.
No, there's and they're doing well in underage.
Very well,
Underage,
yeah.
So Crossabeg Crossabeg have a good pick as well, I think, haven't they? There's a lot of good underage players as well, but they haven't got it together really when they went and going senior.
Yeah, I think they've done well though. They've never went close to going down in the last few years, you know, and I think they've done well in the last 5 years.
Crossabeg.
Yeah.
And they've held their head up
They'd
well.
rather
On.
not beat him in a relegation.
No, they beat Feathered.
They beat Feathers.
They beat Feathered.
Won under 21 in hurling football.
Premier, yeah.
4 year.
Yeah.
5 year.
We couldn't really be in the relegation.
So there you have it now, and that's the end of our discussion now. Hope you all enjoyed it. We'll be back next week to preview the hurling, or to review the hurling and preview the football. Thanks very much for listening.
Well done, lads.
I wonder.